right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews Michigan Basketball Postgame Live. I'm Dennis Fithian. Michigan taking on Minnesota tonight in Minneapolis, and it turned out really good for the Wolverines in their first Big Ten game as they win it by 15, a final of 90-75. We are here after every Michigan basketball game, talking about the Wolverines' effort against whoever they played. And, tonight going in, they had to come back from London in a game that they played on Sunday and then traveled to Minneapolis in the barn, or the haunted house, as it looks, if you've ever seen it. And it's a lot of people have called it that. The elevated floor there for the Gophers. And Michigan played really well in this game. There were a lot of things to like. Heading into this one, you wanted to see just what Michigan was going to look like, because this was going to be the first time that they played without their starting point guard, Jalen Llewellyn, who hurt his knee. And we found out this week that he is out for the season. So Michigan had to go to freshman Doug McDaniel, number 0. And they did go to Doug McDaniel, the 5'11" freshman from Washington, D.C., and Doug McDaniel did not disappoint. He was the story of this game. Now, Michigan shot the ball well. Hunter Dickinson led them in scoring. Kobe Buffkin played well. But the story of this game was Doug McDaniel. Man, did he look good. I mean, he put on a show. He's an exciting player with the ball in his hands. I mean, he's as fast as all get out. And everything that you would hope that he would be, he was. And there were some games this year in the early going where the game looked too fast for him. It looked like it might take him a while, to be able to contribute. But that's not the way it looked tonight. And I know it was Minnesota, and Minnesota's not a very good team. So, yeah, I mean, you factor that in, but you also go out there and say, look, it was a Big Ten team, and it was his first career start, and he couldn't have played any better. I mean, he started out the game not with the best of play, as he turns the ball over in like the first 5 seconds of the game, comes down, turns it over, but then he comes up with a steal in the first 11 seconds. So he had a turnover and a steal in the first 11 seconds of the game at his first start. But after that, after the turnover in the first 5 seconds, I don't think he didn't do anything negative. He was awesome. 5 of 6 from the floor. He hit all 3 of his 3-pointers that he attempted. He was 2 for 2 from the stripe. I mean, just like incredible. In 27 minutes, he had 3 steals, did McDaniel. And let's see, he also had 7 feeds. I mean, this is was just a fabulous game for the Michigan freshman. And then overall for Michigan, they started out 5 of 5 from downtown. They had good ball movement. It was pointed out on the broadcast that was the first time that they had a lead at the first media timeout, which is the under 16, and they led it by 16 at the break, but they were up by as many as 24 in the first half in this one. So 7 of 12 from downtown in the first half, and for Michigan, they came out and played really well in the first couple of minutes of the second half, and it just can't. I'll underscore it one more time. Great starting debut by Doug McDaniel. Shooting, the speed with the ball, coast to coast, no look passing. He made a couple moves. There was one where he was just flying. He got the ball, the one that I was talking about, coast to coast, and he just went by everyone. And he's 5'11", so you think maybe they're going to be able to contest him, but he's so fast that he went up and was able to make a layup. And speed kills. And they couldn't handle it tonight. And then a couple other times, he had no look pass over to Hunter Dickinson. It was, very nice, encouraging, fun, exciting. He put on a show. Doug McDaniel, the number 1 star of the game. Hunter Dickinson, Minnesota. Hunter Dickinson, if Michigan wanted to, Hunter could have had 30, 40 points if they would have just kept going to him. Hunter Dickinson was Hunter Dickinson tonight. 7-11 from the floor, shot, nailed a three, the only one that he took, 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. Good job from the big man who had 19 points. Kobe Buffkin, at times you wonder, wow, is Kobe Buffkin going to be a real starting guard in the Big Ten, specifically for Michigan? And, tonight he was all of that. He looked good, 15 points. He's playing with a lot of confidence now. And he was 7 of 11 from the floor. So a lot of good things. It reminded me of the Pittsburgh game that they played where just everything went well. You looked and you're like, wow, that guy looked good. This guy looked good. And that's what it was like tonight. Everybody looked good. Everybody played well. And, the top three guys that you would look to, Doug McDaniel making his first start at point guard, the true freshman for Jalen Llewellyn. Hunter Dickinson was Hunter Dickinson. He was good. And then Kobe Buffkin playing with confidence, really good sign there for Michigan. Let's look at some of the feedback. We always will take your feedback live during the show. And, I was going to crank up a Twitter Spaces, and let's see, why don't I just go do that? I was going to put the final score in there before I read. It was 90-75. I was going to start it, and then I didn't. And if you're like, what's Twitter Spaces? If you're on Twitter, you'll see up at the top that, you have the ability to either just listen in. You can also comment in by, I can take your call. It's pretty easy. You go to Twitter and you just pop in there and then you say, hey, I would like to speak. And then I just push the button and you come on here and you're able to talk about Michigan basketball, which is nice and fun if it's something that you would like to do. Or you can get your feedback in and your thoughts by typing it in, and I can put it up on the screen. It's all good. Adam saying that McDaniel can be point guard 1 for this team and we can be successful. Well, Adam, if Doug McDaniel plays anything close to the way that he played tonight, then, Michigan can be a factor and Michigan can make the NCAA tournament. I don't want to get ahead of myself because, they haven't looked, it's been a mixed bag. I was going to say they haven't looked great, but, on one hand, they played Kentucky and they played Virginia. I mean, these are legit top 10 teams. These are legit teams that think that, you could say Final Four type teams. And Michigan played them right to the end of the game, pretty much. I mean, they were under 90 seconds to go in a one-possession game with Kentucky out in London on that showcase at 1:00. And then, they played Virginia. That was a one-possession game right down to it with 20 seconds to go or whatever. So that was encouraging. Bottom line is you got to win. We all know that in college basketball. You're not handing out, moral victories or anything, but Llewellyn going down, thinking about the depth of this team, it was like, wow, is this team going to be able to make the NCAA tournament or not? It's a legitimate question, but encouraging to see McDaniel step up and step in tonight. And he can be point guard 1. He is point guard 1, and he was fabulous tonight. Adam pointing out that McDaniel's shot looks pretty solid. He needs room to get it off, obviously, being under 6 feet, but he will get a lot of open looks with Hunter kickouts. Yeah, for sure. It's the one thing if you're a 3-point shooter on this team, you can, and you saw that when Hunter Dickinson was a freshman and Michigan was so good. They had Mike Smith and Sean D. Brown and Isaiah Livers and Franz Wagner. They had 4 guys that could at any point just be outside the 3-point circle. They would throw it in a Hunter and he could just throw it out and they would just move the ball around for somebody wide open. If you can shoot, you can get open shots. And then if you're fast enough, like Doug McDaniel is fast enough, he can just water bug around the floor and find open spots. And then, if the ball is, it's not sticking and they're passing it around, you are able to get open shots all over the place. And then, it just comes down to knocking them down. Michigan was knocking them down tonight, left and right. So everything that you want, if you're a Michigan fan, you do understand that it is Minnesota. So you're not ready to, talk about cutting down the nets or, hey, Michigan's going to win the Big Ten or they should be in the top 25 or, they're going to be a lock for the NCAA tournament. I mean, any of those kind of things. But I look at it like this, Jet Howard and Hunter Dickinson is a 1-2 punch. That is as good as any team in the country. Dickinson can play with any big in the country. He's that good. You can feed the big man, and it's a really nice piece to have for a basketball team. Meanwhile, Jet Howard is fabulous at 6'8". Jet Howard is got all of the moves. He can make a shot from anywhere on the floor. He can create his own shot, and he's only going to get better. And he's playing like a first round draft pick right now, which he is being talked about and projected as the scouts and people that make such lists have already put him into the first round. That's how well he's playing. So you get a 1-2 punch like that and an NBA type guy, first rounder. That's a really good start. How are the rest of the players going to be able to fill in around Dickinson and Jet Howard? And the answer is we don't know for sure, but it was encouraging what we've seen a little bit here from Kobe Buffkin, obviously with McDaniel again, and then, let's go from there. But, this was not a good Minnesota team, and now Michigan gets a big break. They have 8 days off, and then they have a game in 9 days against Lipscomb. And the one thing about Lipscomb, like Minnesota was a Ken Palm 147 coming into this game tonight. Michigan was there at 46 with Ken Palm. Lipscomb is ranked currently 163. So that's going to be an easy game on paper for Michigan coming up in 9 days. That's when they'll play again a week from Saturday at the Chrysler Center, a 4:00 jump. And then just the rest of this month, you have Michigan going down, playing in Carolina at North Carolina in the Jumpman Invitational. And then the eve of New Year's Eve, nice, right before the Fiesta Bowl, the day before the Fiesta Bowl, Michigan is at home against Central Michigan to finish up the month. So that's what it looks like for the maize and blue. A little bit more from Adam, who says he knows Minnesota is bad, but he looks to be playing fast, but not in a hurry. He will continue to improve with every game. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not taking here's the one part about when you watch a game like tonight, you will have people telling you, "Oh, tap the brakes," and Minnesota sucks, and there's a little bit of a point to that. But here's what you need to do. I mean, we can put it all in perspective. It's one of the things you have to know some of your strengths. One of my strengths of being a 52-year-old lifelong broadcaster is I am able to put it in perspective. It was a very enjoyable game, an entertaining game, and Doug McDaniel put on a show. I'm not putting him as the best point guard in the country, or I'm not getting at it myself, but I liked every single thing that I saw. He was a jolt of energy. It was totally fun, watching him out there, and really encouraging for Michigan. There's no reason to tap the brakes on any of that. That is all 100% fact. So we'll see where it goes from here. That's what it is. But, you feel good about it. You should feel good about it. He should feel good about it. Michigan basketball fans should feel good about it, because it was a feel good game. When you go out there and put on a performance like that, you deserve it. Adam saying that Yo-Yo was able to get a little scratch out there. He hit 2 threes, and then Yo-Yo, Yusuf Kayat, the freshman from Lebanon, he was out there, and Beirut, Lebanon. And I liked how he contested the one time. He went after a shot. He was looking to see if he could get a block shot. He got called for a flop, which Yo-Yo's not the biggest guy, and the guy from the Gopher that ran him over, I think, I don't decent call, but it might have been like Yo-Yo was actually trying to just body him up, and he just, it looked like a flop because of the weight difference there and everything. It didn't matter. But yeah, Yo-Yo, a Yo-Yo sighting. As far as Michigan overall in the numbers, let's go to the numbers game and take a look at it. It was Hunter Dickinson leading the way for the Wolverines with 19 points, 4 boards, and 2 feeds on a 7-11 performance from the floor. He dropped in the only 3 that he took, and he was perfect from the charity stripe, 4 for 4. Hunter Dickinson, great night. Kobe Buffkin had 15 points, tying Doug McDaniel for second game-high honors in the scoring department. How about Buffkin? 15, 2, and 4. He was 7-11 from the floor, 1 for 1 from downtown. Missed his only free throw. Really nice game from Kobe Buffkin. Doug McDaniel, again, fun, exciting, excellent debut as a starter. Don't let anybody take anything away from you about tap the brakes or anything else. You just say, you know what? I enjoyed it for what it was. And it was a spectacular starting debut from the freshman from DC. There was nothing not to like, and there was everything to like about his play right from the start. Yeah, he turned it over the first 5 seconds, but then he got a steal, and then he pretty much played, I'll say it, a perfect game after that. 15 points, 2 boards, 7 feeds, 5 of 7 from the, 5 of 6 from the floor. He hit all 3 of his threes that he tried, and he was 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. I know he was selling popcorn at the half. That's how good Mr. McDaniel was. Jet Howard had 14 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. Jet Howard is a fun player to watch every night. He's got a pro game at 6'8". People love comparing him to guys that are in the pros. Jimmy Dykes, who was the color analyst for the Virginia game, he told Carl Ravitch that he reminded him of Donovan Mitchell from the Cavs. I have made 2 comps to Jason Tatum from the Celtics, and then the former Piston and Portland Trail Blazer Jeremy Grant out of Notre Dame. I see similarities, looking for a comp. I'm not saying that Jet Howard is the next JT, Jason Tatum. I'm saying that he's got a game that reminds me of that. Again, some people get a little bit freaked out when you start saying and comparing guys to great players. It's a comp. That's what it is. TW2 had 4 points, 8 boards, and 1 assist. And then let's get to the bench here. Oh, yeah, Cheddar. Cheddar, who is a native of the land of 10,000 lakes, he came in and had 6 points. He had a 3. That was nice for Cheddar going back home. We already talked about Yo-Yo knocking down 2 threes from downtown. I like Terrence Reed. He's Terrence Reed Jr. He's got a senior Big Ten. He's got an NBA body already. And, he had some dunks. He was throwing around his weight, 3 of 6 from the floor. I like him. And then, everybody got in. Like to see more from Joey Buckets if Michigan is going to be able to, if we talk about, and I will for a second, talk about Michigan, doing something like, going to the tournament or being in the upper half of the Big Ten. They need Joey Buckets. They need his shooting from downtown. They need more than what you saw tonight. So we want to see more from Joey Buckets. Jace Howard got in. I always want to see more from Jace. The commentators tonight were talking with Juwan Howard. I guess they asked him who's their best perimeter defender, and Juwan said Jace was their best perimeter defender. Burns, Barnes, Selvala, and Greg Glenn III, sweetest hair on the floor tonight. He gets that, Glenn the third, but Llewellyn listed, so Smith, those guys did not play, and obviously Llewellyn out for the year, which is not good, but that's how it went down. All right, Michigan moves to 6-3 on the year, 1-0 in the Big Ten as they started out in Minneapolis. And remember, we're here after every Michigan basketball game talking about the Wolverines. Sit back, talk about what we see from the maize and blue. And tonight, it was all good. And when you're a fan of a team and, you get into this season and you think, it's not going as well as you would want, a little bit of a downer that way. And then you get the injury and then you say, all right, pull up a chair, late night game in Minneapolis and say, Let's see what old Doug McDaniel is going to be like, the little kid. I call him a little kid because, if he didn't have his tattoos he had his hair pulled back and you saw him like at a restaurant, you might be like, hey, this kid's 13 years old. You might say something like that. But he didn't play like it was a 13. And then I watched him, like I said, the first few games that Doug McDaniel, he looked like the game was, it was going too fast for him. I even thought he looked scared a little bit, but there was none of that tonight for McDaniel. He was great, and you just you're just overjoyed for one night about the performance and really enjoyed it. I don't know if you can be overjoyed. You just enjoyed the performance from the true freshman from Washington, D.C., who went out there and and then to be honest, that is a tough spot. I'm sure that he relished the opportunity when you come in, as a freshman. I would think that your goal is, man, I want to get as much time as I can. I can't wait to get out there. I want to be in the mix and all those things. And then, he was forced into that because of, he wasn't getting a whole lot of time, to be honest, in the first 8 games, a little bit here and there, but not much. But now they handed him the ball and he was running the team, and man, I could probably talk for about an hour straight. That's the kind of performance that when you put on something, you put on a show. You put on a show. And that's what you want the team obviously to win. And you want them to be the best version of themselves. You want them to reach whatever their ceiling is. And, for this team, and what Juwan Howard has going in his 4th year, it'll be I'm talking about what would be a successful season right now for Michigan would be Michigan getting into the NCAA tournament. That would be a success for the Wolverines. And over these first 8 games at different times, you looked and I, had my doubts myself about looking at this thing saying it's going to be close. Who knows? The Big Ten's tough. This is not one of the better teams. You look at where Ken Palm has Michigan. You look at some of these power rankings, Michigan way down in the bottom with Minnesota and Nebraska down there at the bottom of the Big Ten, not anywhere close to being in the top, 6 or 7 teams in the conference. So you're thinking, and then Llewellyn goes down and you're like, wow, this is going to be a tough season for the guys. But regardless of that, it was still, it's kind of like if you have a last second shot in basketball to win the game, it is a game of make a shot, miss a shot. If you make it, you win. If you miss, you lose. Where Michigan basketball is right now, the expectation is, regardless of what's going on with the team and who you have and everything else, is for this team to pull together and find a way to get into the tournament, or it'll be a disappointment. I know that right now on December the 8th, that it will be a disappointment if Michigan is not able to get into the tournament. And so watching them tonight, this was something unexpected. I was not expecting Doug McDaniel to play so well and look so good. How he is able to keep that up and everything he was able to do, fly around. I don't think he's going to make every shot that he takes like he did tonight. Like, so what are you going to do? Like, they shot so well. I don't think Michigan's going to come out shooting and burning the nets from downtown like they did tonight. I don't think that they are going to, can they play with this type of confidence? And then can they win some of these ball games when they get into a situation where it's down, like against Virginia and against Kentucky, teams that are better than them on paper, and you get into a 1-possession game with 5 minutes to go, with 2 minutes to go, with a minute to go, and you're talking about last possessions. Can you get enough playmakers and enough plays put in there where you're going to be able to win some of those games and then ultimately get into the NCAA tournament? Let's see. That's what it's about. That's where it's at. If you're somebody that's finding us for the first time, we're on after every Michigan basketball game and football game. The football team doesn't play for 3 weeks. The basketball team takes 8 days off. They'll play in 9 days, a week from Saturday, again against Lipscomb. But the Maize and Blue review, video-wise and podcast-wise, keeps you going, where we have a weekday show that is live every day at 1:00. So the Maize and Blue review, the very channel that you're watching right now, you will be able to listen and watch tomorrow at 1:00, as I will punch open the mic and start saying, hey, let's talk about the awards from last night. Let's look at TCU, the Horned Frogs, what people think of the matchup that Michigan has in the semifinal. We're also going to look at how a college football playoff would look if it actually did have 12 teams in, which they have agreed to in 2 years to do that. So it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. Well, guess what? We'll be talking about Doug McDaniel a little bit tomorrow. I'm going to sleep on it, and then I'm going to come back and see where I'm at with a freshman point guard at 1:00 tomorrow. My guess is I'm going to feel pretty good about it, because there was nothing to feel bad about. It was all good for U of M. Tim on the feedback says he was at the game. Michigan won this game and had it in the bag from the first tip, go blue. Yeah, they did, Tim. Did they end up boat racing them, getting out there, getting up and never looking back? Yeah, they did. I mean, they're up by 24. They had their first lead of the season at the first media timeout, which was something. And then, they hit their first at least five threes that I had counted up to that point. You come out. I tell you, it didn't matter who they're playing. If they're playing the number one team in the country, they come out and knock down their first 5 threes, they're going to be in the game, and you're going to feel pretty good about their chances. But there were so many things to like about Michigan, and Adam saying the only thing he did not like was how they closed it out. Bench came in with 8 minutes. Minnesota made a run. Howard put his starters back in, and Minnesota continued their run. Fair enough. Fair enough. Minnesota, they're at home. They don't want to be embarrassed. They're going to keep bringing it there. I hear what you're saying. I think that you'll go to Greg Glenn the third. He was he had some interesting shot selection, some interesting shots with some of the moves that he was making late, where if it was a closer game or something like that, they'd probably be like, okay. But they had a couple guys in there that, let's be honest, Adam, I've never heard of. They were out there, mopping it up. But I get you. You don't want to, regardless of the time that you're in there. If we're talking about, hey, Michigan was up by 24 and they let a couple possessions, go there. And I think Brian Butch pointed it out. Putting the starters back could have been a message from Juwan. It also could be a little bit of a conditioning standpoint from his starters. They're not going to play again for 9. They're going to have 8 days off. They're not going to play another game for 9 days. So getting those guys in and maybe get them some burn there late, had that effect as well. Michigan wins it 90-75, and that'll do it. A reminder, if you are not subscribing to the Maize and Blue Review and you want to know everything about Michigan football, basketball, recruiting, transfer portal, all of the stuff that's going on, constant Michigan topics and discussion, well, a great gift is the Maize and Blue Review. Put that under the Michigan fans, better than, some big Michigan fan that is not a subscriber to the Maize and Blue Review. Give them that for the holidays. They'll thank you. They'll be like, this is awesome. This is constant Michigan talk. This is great. They'll love you for that gift. They don't need a ties or golf balls. A gift to the Maize and Blue Review. All right, talk to you tomorrow at 1:00. Michigan wins at 9.